that are not subscribed, that are new here, you guys subscribe, like, and comment under the video. For you guys that are returning, my returning boos, I fuck with y'all. I appreciate y'all. We only have 17 subscribers right now, but we gonna rock it like we got 17,000. I fuck with y'all. But yes, I am back with another story time for you guys. And I think I'm going to make a section called Lesbian Tales because I have a bunch of lesbian story times for you guys. But this story, as you could tell from the title, is going to be really interesting. So let's just jump right into it. We ain't even got to go. You know what I'm saying? Let's just jump right into the story. So guys, I dated this girl for about 5 years. We met at a bar at a gay club and we hit it off really well. It was a good time, you know what I'm saying? We started off really well. We would go bowling, skating, to the clubs together. We'd hang out at parks, beaches, whatever. It was just like amazing time. And it was wonderful. But I can tell you this, like when I met her, she wasn't the best looking, but you know, it wasn't that deep for me because like her personality and everything just like overshadowed the looks. So it was fine or whatever. Cool. So we hanging out, we having a good time, and it came a time where she was like, when we went out and stuff like that, her grandma would be like, you know, you keep coming in late. You know how your grandma used to live with your parents or your grandmother or something like that. You know how they are. You can't come in past a certain time. She would come in really late sometimes. So she was just like, you know, I want to get a place. Me and my homegirl, she had a best friend. We're gonna give her the name. We're gonna name her best friend Black, and we're gonna give her name. We're gonna call her Jekyll and Hyde. Okay. So Jekyll and Hyde had a best friend by the name of Black. So she called Black and they chopping it up and they were just like, you know what, it's time for us to move out. Black had a girlfriend also. We got girlfriends and we could have a really good time, and you know, we don't have to listen to coming in late and disrespecting the house or whatnot. So they ended up going out looking for a place. So they ended up coming back to me and the girlfriend and asking us did we want to move in, and we were like, hell yeah, because like we young, we all in love and we liked each other and the vibe was amazing when we got together. So we all moved in and it was going good. We all were splitting the bills. We would go out. When we don't go out, we would have a ball at the house. We invite people over. We have like parties and stuff. It was just so lit and it was so fun. One night, me and Black's girlfriend got into it, and we ended up getting into a physical altercation where we fought, like we physically fought, and they ended up wanting to move out. So long story short, they ended up moving out. So when they moved out, me and Jekyll and Hyde took over the bills. We said, you know what? This is our place now. We're going to start taking over the bills. So we took over the bills. Everything was going fine for, I say, about a good year. Everything was going fine for a year. So, like, it came a point in time where she lost her job. And when she lost her job, it was hard for her to get her half of the rent. And, you know, we were young at the time. We wasn't saving. We were just living check to check, whatever, just living on the edge. So she couldn't get her half of the rent, and I was really stressed out about it. Like every day, that's all I talk about, you know, because this is where we live. Like, what do you mean? So she's like, I'm gonna ask some of my family members to see if I can get the money or whatever. And I'm like, okay, cool. So it came time for the rent, and it was like maybe the day before. She came to me and she was like, oh, I have the rent. Don't worry about it. We're cool. I asked one of my family members, you know, and I also have a job interview. I might get this job. So I'm like, okay, we back on track. So we paid the rent. We ended up paying the rent or whatnot, and everything was fine. And then one day, we're in the kitchen, you know, I'm making a drink. She's playing Nintendo or some shit like that. We just chilling, everything just fine, like a normal day. And I get a knock on the door. Knock, 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 knock. So I'm like, who is that? Because we, at that time, when we stopped talking to Black and her girlfriend, we stopped having company. We got really into like paying bills and like really trying to be adult about things. So people wasn't really coming to our house like that unless they called or something like that. So I know it was nobody. We weren't expecting nobody. So I'm like, that was weird. So she goes to the door and she come back with a plate. No, she didn't go to the door. I went to the door. No, she went to the door and I heard a guy's voice and he was talking to her or whatever for a while. And then when I came to the door to see who it was, she was turned around with a plate getting ready to leave. And I'm like, who is that? And then she was like, oh, that's the guy, my mom's friend. He had brought me something to eat. And I'm like, why would he be bringing you something to eat? And she was just like, what do you mean? Like, that's my mom's friend and I was hungry. He brought me something to eat. So it just stayed in my mind. It was just weird to me. So weeks went by, get another knock at the door. She's not home. Same guy. So I'm like, what's up? What do you need? He was like, oh, I'm coming to bring Jekyll and Hyde some food. Then I'm like, why are you bringing her food? Like, how do you know her? Like, what's going on? And he was like, he had like a little, like a what you mean, like type of attitude. And I'm like, what the fuck? Because she's a stud and he's an older man. I'm like, what the fuck kind of vibe is this? It didn't want like, oh yeah, I'm dropping her something off or because she did something. It wasn't like that. It was just like, I'm dropping her some food off. Like, who are you, basically? So I got the food and I called her and I was like, listen, who is this guy? And she was like, oh, that's my mom's friend. He's just kind of weird or whatever. Don't play him no mind or whatever. So I left it alone. She's gay. She's like a butch. And I'm like, maybe I'm tripping. So I leave it alone or whatever. Time go by. And she started getting like a little heavy. So I'm like, what's going on with you? You gained a lot of weight. And she was just like, oh, I went to the doctor and I have a tumor. Then it's getting bigger and bigger. And I felt so bad for her. And I'm like, oh my God. She's like, yeah, I have to have surgery and this and that. And I was like, damn. And like, as the relationship went on, she was getting bigger and bigger. So it was scary. And then she would like wear like this green, like coat, like this green thin jacket all the time. Like if she go to work, she have it on, she would sleep with it. And in my mind, I wasn't thinking like she was covering something up. Like I thought she really had a tumor and everything, It was crazy. And then one day, I don't know what made me ask, I said, are you pregnant? And she was like, no, don't try me like that. What I look like with a man. And I told you I got a tumor. And I felt so bad. I was like, oh my God, I'm tripping. So one day, we ended up losing that apartment because it was like she was off and on with working. So she couldn't keep a stable job. So she ended up losing the apartment. The apartment was in her name. So we lost the apartment. I moved back in with my mom. She moved back in with her grandma. And then I got an apartment in my name. And I told her she can come along. So we ended up staying together again. So while we staying together, she's huge. And I was like, you need to go get that surgery. One of my cousins, I haven't seen him in a while. He came over out of the blue. I didn't even know he flew in or anything. He just knocked on the door. And he's like, cousin. He's like, I come to see your new apartment. And woo, woo, woo. And I'm like, yeah, come on in. And at the time, he didn't know that I was gay. And he's gay, but he didn't know I was gay. But he came in and he was just like, I want to see your new apartment and everything. Your mom sent me over. So he come over, he looking at the apartment and everything. So she walks out the door. She comes in the living room and he's like, oh, y'all got a real family. I didn't know you was like that, girl. Why you didn't tell me? So we chopping up and everything. And he was just like, yeah, congratulations on you guys' baby and everything. And I'm like, what you mean? I was like, she's not pregnant. She has a tumor. Like, this and that. And he was like, oh my God, I feel so bad. And she was like, yeah, I'm not pregnant. I have a tumor and this and that. So she kept up with this lie, y'all, so well. so well. She kept saying, I have a tumor, I have a tumor. So one day, she was like, I gotta go to the hospital. I'm not feeling well, and this and that and the third. So I'm like, okay, cool. We can go to the hospital. You can go ahead to the hospital and call me and tell me what's going on. So she gets to the hospital and she called me and I'm like, what's going on? She was like, I don't know. I think they're going to operate. I mean, they're going to do the surgery on me because of the tumor. And I felt bad. I got off of work. I was distraught. I'm like, what the fuck? I don't know what to do. So I get to I call her. I was like, I'm on my way to the hospital. She's like, don't leave work. You don't have to come up here to the hospital. And I'm like, no, like, I'm going to come to the hospital. Like, what's going on with you? So I get to the hospital and I asked for her. I was like, is Jekyll and Hyde here? And they're like, yeah, she's in room such and such such. Then I'm like, okay. And then she was like, and I was like, room 2. I was like, isn't that the maternity ward? She was like, yes, that's the maternity ward. She's in the maternity ward. And I was like, what? Like, what? What do you mean she's in the maternity ward? I was like, okay, maybe I'm still tripping. I'm still thinking, I think I was drinking stupid juice. Yeah, that's what I was drinking, some stupid juice. So I'm still thinking like, no, she can't be in the maternity ward. Like, they tripping. Maybe in some rooms, they overpacked or something. You know, still trying to get her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they just stuck her in the maternity ward because it wasn't no rooms left. That's how I'm thinking. So I get in the hospital. I get to the hospital. I get up to the room. Get to the room. She laying there, and I'm like, why are you in the maternity ward? And she was just crying. She was just like, I just don't know. I just don't know. I just don't know. And I was like, what do you mean you don't know? Then the doctor came in and the doctor was like, well, it looks like you're dilating something centimeters and, you know, it looks like you're getting ready to have this baby. What? The doctor said, you look like you getting ready to have this baby. And I tell you, it sounded like I don't know, like, it was, I don't know, it sounded crazy. Like, I was shocked because this girl, give a backstory on this girl. She was so butch till she would go in the men's bathrooms, use the restroom. It was just like, she was just really masculine. And like, I'm like, what the fuck? So like, when the doctor said that, I immediately slapped the fuck out of her. Boop, 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 boop. Slapped the fuck out of her, okay? Y'all, I slapped the fuck out of her. I called her sister. Her sister was like, I can't believe it. Like, she was just so shocked that occurred. So I just didn't want to talk to her for a while. I went back to my apartment and I was just there, just like, I didn't go to work for like a week. I was just so shocked that this bitch was in the maternity ward and she was pregnant. Like, what the fuck do you mean? So she ended up coming back home because they said something about she wasn't ready. I guess, you know, she wasn't ready to have a baby. She needed to keep the baby in for a little bit and gave her some, I don't know. But they ended up sending her back home. So when she got back home, I was like, what? How did this happen? Like, what happened? If you don't tell me exactly what happened, you got to get up out of my house. Point blank, period. I automatically wanted her out of my house. I just want to hear what she said, what she had to tell me. Because how the fuck did you get pregnant? Bitch, like, let me know. So she was just like crying and hysterical. And she was just like, it was just, I didn't have the rent money. And he was my mama's friend. And he always liked me. And he always wanted to pay me for sex. And I just gave in one day and I did it with him and I ended up pregnant and I'm sorry, I did this for you, and just really tried to put the guilt trip on me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was my fault, bitch. You busted open and bent over for a nigga. And then on top of that, you didn't even use protection. You didn't even use protection. So in my mind, like, if you a stud, Like, you ain't even use protection. Like, so into my mind, I feel like you've been doing this. Like, this is what you result in. You could have sold anything but some ass. You know what I'm saying? So I ended up feeling bad for her, and we ended up being okay, but I stopped having sex with her. Like, that was it for me. It was a turn off. She ended up having the baby. She went to the hospital. She had the baby. It was just like, ugh, like, it was crazy. She had the baby, and then she didn't want the baby. When the baby came out, she automatically called an adoption agency and was just like, had them come to the house and want them to pick the baby up. She was dead ass serious. The baby would be crying. She wouldn't want the baby. I think she was detached from the baby because the whole situation. I don't know. But as a mother, I had a child. At the time, my baby was like 4 years old. I looked at her like, bitch, you are crazy. Like, there is no way that I would do my child like that or whatever. But she had a baby on me, y'all. She had a whole fucking baby on me. A whole butch, whole stud. And I stayed with her, I would say, about like a good 8 months to a year after her baby was born. And she ended up cheating on me with somebody from the chat line. So it was just like real crazy. Like, she was so toxic. And it was just so shocking to like somebody so hard. Like, you stand up when you piss, to have a whole fucking baby on you. Like, that shit was fucking crazy. And she hid that pregnancy. Like, I felt like she was pregnant, but I was like, in my mind, I was like, nah, she couldn't be pregnant because she a nigga. I mean, a stud. Like, how? Why? Make it make sense. I didn't get it. But yes, y'all, I dated a stud that got pregnant on me. She got pregnant on me. Like, it was crazy. And I should have known that she was messing with dudes, because it was like she had a little smell. She had a little smell one time. You feel me? And I'm not gonna go into detail, but she had a little smell. And I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Something ain't right. And as women, we know them smells. Like, that was a smell like you need to go to the doctor, or like you had an STD, or you just got through and get right. Like, it was just not it. But you guys better watch out for them studs. Some of these studs still like penis. Do not let them fool you. And this girl was hard as hell, y'all. When I say hard, I mean hard. And she had a whole baby on me. I think her baby should be like 14, 15, 16 years old now, because me and her dated a long time ago. But it was just shocking, and I just wanted to share that story with you guys. Like, I went through that, and I can't make this shit up. I can't make this shit up. This bitch was like, I have a tumor, and this bitch was a whole fucking mommy to be. So you guys watch out for them studs, boy. And let me see if I could give y'all some signs. Like, did I see any signs? I really didn't see any signs like that. The only sign I really seen was when the guy came to the door. That was the only sign I saw. That was the only sign I saw. And then like, when she was pregnant, I seen, like, you know what I'm saying? But like, she showed no signs of liking men. She used to always be like, oh, that's a nigga. I would never, like, you know what I'm saying? But y'all be weird, them motherfuckers. Because I dated one. And she had sex with a man with no condom and had a whole baby on me. And it was crazy, y'all. But that was my story. Make sure you guys like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I'll be back next week with something else. Peace.